I am the Dealmaker. I don't expect you to understand what that means. Not truly. It isn't just a name. It's a shape I've taken. A role I've worn so long it fused to the bone. You may imagine something grand or something grotesque, but the truth is simpler than that. I make deals. That's it. That's all. That's enough. You want something, I give it to you. Simple, elegant, no complicated forms, no hidden runes, no babbling goblins or cursed rings. Just you, me, and the weight of your own want. You tell me the thing you've never told another soul, the real thing. And I say, very well. Of course, how you get it, that part's rarely what people picture. And that's where the fun begins. You see, people are endlessly creative in the ways they ruin themselves. They want love and they ask for worship. They want safety and demand power. They want peace, but they ask for more. Always more. The problem with humans is that they think they know what they want. They think naming the wish is the same as understanding it. It's adorable. Like a child asking to eat candy for every meal, and then being surprised when they vomit on the carpet. Lately, I've noticed a new trend, a particularly modern flavor of desperation. It's not about riches anymore, not really. Fame. Now that's the drug of choice. But not even fame in the old sense. Not talent recognized, not greatness earned. No. What they want now is visibility. Eyes on them, always and forever. Immortality has become social. They want to be known, not just while they live, but after. They want their name carved into the collective brain of the world. They want history to bend around them. Even if they don't have anything to say, they want it screamed into the void anyway. And that brings us, yes, to the curious case of Eli Morgan. Now, Eli was like many before him, young, ambitious, and painfully sincere. A little lost, a little loud about it. 25, still clinging to the idea that his life had meaning just waiting to be unlocked like some grand achievement badge. He wanted to leave a mark, something permanent, eternal. He didn't want to be special for a moment. He wanted it to be etched in stone. The kind of remembered that outlives empires, that gets statues and think pieces and conspiracy theories. And the poor boy thought I would be the one to stop him. No. I gave him exactly what he asked for. After all, I always do. Shall we begin? It happened on a cold Tuesday night. I was sitting in the back booth of a shuttered jazz bar in New Orleans. No music anymore, just the memory of it soaked into the wood. I like places like that. Echo chambers of better times. I was sipping something that looked like whiskey but wasn't, listening to a rat try to chew through an old speaker cable when I felt it. The call. You never forget the feeling, like being yanked through a hook threaded through your ribs. Subtle at first, then undeniable. It pulls you through shadow, through places light doesn't know exist. That delicious little tremor in the fabric of things signaling that someone out there, someone alive and desperate, has just whispered the right words with just the right mix of fear and faith. And just like that, I had an appointment. I stepped through the dark between places and arrived in a dim, cramped apartment. One of those cookie-cutter city boxes that always smells like damp drywall and microwave noodles. Cheap blinds, a flickering light bulb, tension in the air thick enough to slice. Eli Morgan was sitting cross-legged on the floor. Salt circle, black candles, his laptop open next to him, the page still up. How to summon the Dealmaker? A post left on the internet from a previous client of mine. I thought about taking it down myself, but it provided great word of mouth. He looked up at me when I stepped through the shadow. He stared and I smiled. Always the same reaction. Part horror, part disbelief, part relief. They're never sure if it worked until I speak. "You rang?" I said, brushing imaginary dust off of my coat. He scrambled to his feet, eyes wide, breath caught. Are you him?" "I hope so, otherwise this just got awkward." He didn't laugh. Shame. I do love a good laugh. "You're the Dealmaker," he said, like he was testing the words, tasting them. "You're real." "As real as anything you've ever regretted." There was a long silence. He swallowed twice. I waited. No need to rush this part. The ask always comes. I want... He started, then stopped. "Take your time. It's important to say it right." He nodded and collected himself. Looked me straight in the eye. That part always impresses me a little. So rare these days. "I want it to be remembered forever. I want the world to never forget who I am." I tilted my head. "Forever's a long time, Mr. Morgan." He didn't flinch. "I know. You don't want fame for a year, a decade, a trend cycle or two. No, I want to be etched into culture, into memory, into history. I want kids to learn my name in school. I want documentaries, statues, podcasts dissecting everything I ever said." Romantic. Naive, but romantic. He stood his ground, so I stepped closer. "One last chance to change your mind. You may get exactly what you asked for." "I won't change it. This is what I want." "Very well. When you wake up tomorrow, the world will know your name." His eyes lit up. The smallest, stupidest smile crossed his face. And then I turned to go. "Wait, that's it?" I glanced back. "Should there be more?" "No, I just thought... Don't you take something in return?" "Oh, Mr. Morgan, I already have." And before he could ask what, the shadow took me. The early days of fame, always the sweetest. Like the first few bites of a rich dessert before it turns your stomach. Eli Morgan woke up like a king. His phone was a war zone of notifications. Emails, texts, missed calls, mentions, tags, articles. A viral post dissecting a poem he'd written 3 years prior had exploded overnight. From there, the algorithm gods took over. One thing led to another, and suddenly he was everywhere. The critics called him visionary. And it wasn't just poetry of his, but it was music of his he'd written as well. They called him brilliant, authentic, words humans use when they don't quite understand something but are afraid to admit it. His face was on magazine covers. Clips of his interviews spread like wildfire. Podcasts quoted him. Teenagers argued over his meaning in the comments sections. He didn't just trend. He stuck. Within a month, he'd gone from relative obscurity to a cultural lodestone. The kind of person whose words are carved into the internet like commandments. The type whose face appears in murals and protest signs, on the t-shirts of the ironic and the faithful alike. And oh, he handled it well. At first, he gave humble interviews, refused to take cheap shots, donated to causes, held eye contact, thanked his team. He meant it too. That was the most tragic part. He truly believed he could do it better. Be the one who stayed grounded, the good kind of famous. I must admit, I was impressed. He wasn't perfect, but he was smart. Sharp, aware of the traps, and for a while he danced around them with grace. No scandals, no outbursts, no collapse. For years he rode that wave like he was born to do it. And I watched. From shadows backstage, from reflections in sunglasses, from the corners of green rooms and the backs of stadium crowds. I watched him climb. I watched him glow. Oh, how immortality has become endlessly boring for me. I must keep myself entertained somehow, shan't I? He never looked for me, not once. Most don't. They're too busy basking in the warmth of what they think is the sun. But I was there. Once I make a deal, I'm always there. I remember thinking, maybe this one will surprise me. Maybe Eli Morgan will actually beat the house. Poor boy. The house never loses. 10 years went by. I let him bask in it for 10 whole years. We were on a rooftop suite overlooking Los Angeles. One of those places that costs more per night than most people make in a year. Glass walls, infinity pool, twinkling skyline. A monument to someone who thinks they've won. Eli was alone, barefoot, sipping something amber and overpriced. He leaned on the railing like he was posing for a portrait, chin up, wind in his hair. His face was a little sharper than before, his eyes a little harder. Fame does that. I stepped out of the shadow behind him and cleared my throat softly. He didn't flinch. That annoyed me a little. "Took you long enough," he said, not turning around. I raised an eyebrow. Were you expecting me?" He smirked. "No, but I'd figured you'd show up eventually. 10 years of living like a god, you had to be watching." I sat beside him and looked out at the city. "You've done well." "I know." He sipped his drink. "You know what the funny part is? I thought I'd regret it. The deal? Thought I'd wake up screaming or bleeding from the eyes. I thought there'd be strings, hidden costs, monkey paw bullshit. And yet..." He turned to face me now, and there it was. That gleam in his eye. The one fame polishes into people like him. Yet it's been perfect. I'm not just famous, I matter. My work matters. I've changed things, moved people, and made the world better. And yet here you are, alone on your rooftop, monologuing to a shadow. Just needed a break from the noise. The noise that you asked for. Part of the job. And it's a damn good job. I mean, come on, this? He gestured to the skyline, the stars, the empire he'd built. This is the dream. No scandals, no breakdowns, no mysterious caveats. I love it. He walked over to the bar and poured himself another drink. He didn't offer me one, of course. So why are you here? Trying to shake me up, waiting for the cracks? No, just checking in. Most people don't last this long. You're a rare breed, Eli. You don't seem happy about that. Oh, I'm always happy. But you strike me as a man who's read too many headlines and believed them all. You think I'm a fraud? No, I think you're a mirror. People see in you what they want to believe is possible. They mistake visibility for virtue, repetition for truth. And what do you see? An expiration date. He laughed too loudly. You're so full of it. You show up after 10 years just to throw shade? I thought you'd at least be clever. I leaned in slightly. And I thought you'd be more grateful. You asked to be remembered. You didn't say how or for what, or for how long before it became unbearable. He went quiet then, just a flicker. The first crack barely noticeable. I can handle it. For now. We stood in silence for a moment. Can I tell you something, Eli? Go ahead, you're clearly dying to. I've met kings and killers, prophets and psychopaths. You know what they all had in common? He didn't answer. They all thought they were in control. They all thought the story was theirs. That they were the one writing it. And they weren't? I turned my head and met his gaze. They never are. Another silence. Longer this time. And with that I made my departure swiftly. Only the soft sound of my laughter remained, curling in the night air like smoke. Fame doesn't rot from the outside. It decays from within. It wasn't one moment. That's what people always get wrong. They think there's a snap, a single headline, a tweet that brings it all crashing down. But no. With Eli, it began quietly. A hesitation here, a forced smile there. The first sign? He stopped responding to fans. No more late-night live streams, no more surprise messages of encouragement. He was tired, he said. Burnout, understandable. They forgave him. Then came the interviews. Shorter, colder, clipped with defensiveness. He contradicted himself, lashed out at a podcast host who pressed too hard, accused a journalist of twisting his words. Still they clapped, still they adored him. But I could feel the shift. Fame doesn't just give. It expects. It demands. And when you stop feeding it, it turns. The fan base splintered. Some defended him. He's overwhelmed. Others turned. He's changed. And the worst ones? The ones who loved him most became angry that their God had grown distant. The paranoia crept in. I saw it in his eyes when he thought no one was looking. That flicker, that doubt. He stopped going out without security. He stopped going out at all. Then came the break-in. A fan, obsessed, delusional, certain that they were meant to be together, made it into his home. Eli wasn't hurt, but something broke inside him that night. He moved. Vanished from the public for weeks. When he reappeared, he was thinner, louder, and harder. He accused the media of betraying him. Sued an ex-employee for leaking emails that never existed. Claimed a late-night host mocked him unfairly. The segment was gentle, honestly, but Eli saw betrayal in every laugh. The internet turned. Memes cropped up. Old clips were recontextualized. Think pieces titled, "Was Eli Morgan always this weird?" started trending. Documentaries were rushed into production, but now they came with sinister music under the voiceovers. He was unraveling in real time, and the final thread was so heartbreakingly simple. He went to a fan event unannounced, and just showed up. No security. Said he wanted to reconnect. Instead, he got swarmed, screamed at, groped, and cornered. Someone pushed him, and he panicked. A bottle was thrown. Eli grabbed a camera operator's boom mic and swung. One man, an assistant producer, fell, cracked his skull on the pavement. Dead on impact. Eli stood over him, mic in hand, blood on his face, surrounded by hundreds of recording phones. It was quiet for 2 seconds. Then the screaming started. Oh, and the trial for him was a circus, of course it was. They dragged him in wearing designer cuffs and an expression so carefully blank it looks sculpted. His team, what was left of them, issued prepared statements, begged for empathy, blamed stress, trauma, and the pressures of celebrity. No one cared. The footage was clear. The headlines were better. Eli Morgan kills devoted fan in brutal rage. Even though it was a cameraman. It wasn't accurate, but it was true enough. The prosecution didn't need to work hard. They painted him as a narcissist and a cult leader without a cause. Said he courted worship like oxygen, and when he didn't get it, he snapped. Oh, and the public ate it up. Every post, every tweet, every quote he'd ever given was dissected and twisted. The same words that once made him beloved were now used to prove how dangerous he was. Fan theories turned into courtroom arguments. Parody accounts became sources. Law professors gave TED Talks titled The Eli Morgan Effect. He became a cautionary tale before the verdict was even read. And when it was, guilty, of course. Not just of manslaughter, of moral failure, of cultural betrayal, of letting them believe in something. He was sentenced to 25 years, but truly they just wanted him gone. And yet he didn't disappear. No, that was the most exquisite part. His name lived on, and textbooks included his rise and fall in media studies. Documentaries turned out in high def. His face, stylized and hollow-eyed, became a stencil on alley walls next to slogans like, "Don't be an Eli." It was legacy, all right. It was exactly what he asked for. To be remembered, and remembered he was. But not as a hero, as a warning. And in a cell far from the city skyline, thick behind glass and concrete silence, Eli Morgan watched himself become legend. Not the kind with parades. The kind with PSAs. He didn't scream, he didn't speak, he just sat, breathing and watching. And I waited. Not to gloat. Not yet. That comes next. It was the kind of silence that sinks. No guards moved, no radios crackled. The hall outside his cell stretched long and empty, lit by flickering strips of tired fluorescence. Time didn't pass here, it just settled. Eli Morgan sat hunched in the corner of his cot, still breathing though just barely, His eyes were open but unfocused, staring at something that wasn't there. Or maybe something that wouldn't leave. He wouldn't speak anymore. Hadn't for months. Maybe years. But I was there. I stood just beyond the frame of his vision in the place where shadows gather where no one's watching. No cane tonight. No coat. Just presence. The idea of me bleeding into the edges of the room. I watched him. Watched the twitch of a finger. The hollow motion of a jaw clenched too long. The way his body curled in on itself, like it was trying to disappear. The world still spoke his name, students still debated him, journalists still speculated. A new play had just opened in London. Morgan, a minimalist two-act tragedy in grayscale. He was eternal now, and he knew it. His fingers trembled, his breathing quickened just slightly as if he sensed something. A shift in the air, a prickle on the back of his neck, the faint, impossible pressure of eyes where no eyes should be. Then, just once, he flinched. Not a sound, but at the space between sounds. At the moment just after silence where something else has crept in. It started softly. A laugh. Not loud, not close, not human. Just there. A curl of sound on the edge of perception. Something felt more than heard, like a memory of laughter. The kind that lives in dark corners of old rooms, the kind that lingers behind your teeth when you've just won something no one else knows you were playing for. Oh, how I revel in my laugh. Eli shuddered. He didn't look up, and didn't need to. He knew. And I stayed in the dark, laughing where I belong. Where I wait. Where I watch. Waiting for the next name that is already beginning to whisper itself into the walls and call me for another deal.